Today, we're going to look at how to set up your HubSpot if you're a construction company. So if you're a construction company and you're wanting to get on HubSpot, here is a pattern we've used to set up a HubSpot portal for construction companies for dozens of construction companies. And based on that pattern, we can install this in your HubSpot portal and then customize it for your specific business. But we believe this is the skeleton every single construction company should be built on inside HubSpot. Now, in order to understand HubSpot, you have to understand what it does. It's a CRM, but more than that, it's a foundational operations tool. Two things to understand about HubSpot. Number one, it's a marketing and sales tool. You can schedule all your social media, your ads, your email campaigns, stuff like that. We're not looking at any of that stuff today. That's a completely different demo. Today, we're looking at what HubSpot calls objects. Objects in HubSpot are really like spreadsheets or tables with superpowers. So the core objects, the core four, we call them, that we're looking at for construction companies today are contacts, companies, bids, and construction projects. We leverage these four as doing 90% of the work for a construction project here. So first, what we're looking at here is a contact table. Then what we're going to look at are the company records themselves. Then we're going to look at all of our bids, and then we're going to look at all of our construction projects and how we manage those. Okay. So at a high level, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the properties we set up for customers, companies, or contacts, companies, bids, and construction projects. And then finally, we're going to look at how this integrates with, for example, a tool like Buildertrend, and how we build reports that give us business intelligence on everything that's happening inside our business when we track it inside HubSpot. Okay. So when we look at contacts, there's not a ton of customization we do on the contact level, because what we're really doing is focusing on bid tracking and project tracking here in HubSpot based on the company. So for example, if we look at these specific companies and we say, okay, I want to click into a company and I want to see what's on that record. Here, we're looking at Halstead Facilities and we see all the contacts associated with that record, and we see their role, the surety contact, trade contact, principal at, and facilities at. And we also see the bids that they've made and the projects that they're associated with. So for example, they're a subcontractor on this specific project. Okay. Now, when I look at this company, I can also see what the relationship status is. So have they been awarded? Are they pre-qualified, introduced? Are they dormant? Right? I can see all of this. When their pre-qualification expires, for example, I can see any companies associated with them, any contacts associated with them. And again, I can see all the bids that they've made. So if I click into Backer & Co., I can see this person is the owner at Backer, and here are all the bids that they've made. They have several no-go, several estimating, several that they've been shortlisted on, several that they've won. Here are the projects they're associated with. Some are active, some are pre-construction, and some are complete. Okay, so far we've looked at, again, contacts and companies. Now what we're going to do is look at bids. Bids are really interesting because when we look at bids, we can see the delivery method for the bid. Is it a hard bid, negotiated? Is it a design build, a CM risk? And then finally, is the bid status lost, estimating, shortlisted, won? I can also sort by status. Okay, so I want to see, for example, all of the estimating hard bids. I can add filters here so that automatically we can filter by bid status and drill down into things that I want to see. Another thing I can do is I can view the bid board. It's showing me the same records, but this time it shows me a board view, which shows me the progress of these. So is it a no-go? Is it estimating? Is it submitted? Is it shortlisted? And I can have automations that, again, come from Buildertrend or can be built just right inside HubSpot without Buildertrend that move these cards along to the appropriate column when certain events happen. Okay. And then finally, I can see these same records again in a different view on a bid schedule. So, right, I want to say this is all going to be based, for example, on the bid due. So I want to see when all the bids are due for all of these different projects and for all of these different bids. And I want to be able to click into it and say, oh, this was our submitted amount. We submitted for $1 million. Who's the estimator? It's Bram. What's our estimating hours? 250. And then if it was won or not, what was the winner amount, right? Was it 12? Was it 1.2, right? And then the gap, obviously, that would be calculated. Right. And then who is it won by? Was it won by us? Was it won by somebody else? Right. And then we can put the lost reason not shortlisted, bonding or insurance, we withdrew capacity, etc. And again, once we click back into all these other views, all those properties get saved and updated automatically, right? So we've got our estimating hours, our submitted amount, our winning amount, the gap to the winner, who was it won by, and then if it was a go or no go, what was the reason? Wrong size, good fit, wrong geography, that kind of thing. So what you're seeing here is all of the data that you can manage inside HubSpot. So then when we go into, let's say, one of these records, we can see who are all the contacts associated with this bid. Who are all the companies? So, for example, Otterbein County. This is a bid designed by them. Ravensworth Energy. This was an inviting party that invited us to that bid. If we click into this Otterbein County, what we're going to see, here are all of the bids that we had with this county. Here's our contact here, right? And then we can also see who are the estimators? What is the submitted amount? What is the win amount? We can see all of this in HubSpot. And then finally, we have the construction project itself, right? The construction project itself is very interesting because here we have a table of these records. We have this object view, right? But we can also click into this and leverage one more object in HubSpot, which is actually tickets. So here in tickets, we can actually track all of the work orders or all of the jobs that are associated with this project and whether they're on track or off track right here in HubSpot also. And this is done in HubSpot's ticketing system. I know I'm throwing in this audible last minute of this fifth object we're using, which is we have all these tickets in HubSpot and they're all associated, again, to a specific job. And they can be tracked to the construction project so we can automatically track them, automatically updated, waiting on us. Now they're waiting on the contact, okay? And it's closed out, which means that this door hardware adjustment is done and it's a warranty item. So you see there's a lot of information that we can track right here in HubSpot. And what I want you to understand is not just how this data works, because we can do all this with a spreadsheet, right? What I want to show you is the actual process we use for this. So this is our design system for our general contractor install that we will install right in your portal. And by the way, this is a huge benefit to you. A typical HubSpot solutions partner is going to quote you tens of thousands of dollars to just build this from scratch. We've already built it. We'll just install it right in your HubSpot for you. We already have, this is the object model. Don't let this diagram be off-putting to you. This is just what we use to architect these HubSpot portals for you. Here's all the custom fields and properties that we build out for you, all of your custom pipelines, your bid pipelines, your deal pipelines, and finally, all the workflow automations you have, your bid go and no-go workflow, loss capture workflow, your company bid invitation workflow, and then finally, any kind of integrations you might have, like with Buildertrend, and any custom cards that you might have as well. But what I want you to really understand is the process that this is going through. So in this process, you've got 4 phases here. You've got business development, pre-construction, award and delivery, and reporting. And in business development, here's the story of what happens in HubSpot. So when you're looking at this stuff, you understand how all these records work and what they mean before we finally touch base on reporting. Okay. So in HubSpot, we start with business development. So let's say that a relationship gets properly qualified, right? Then somebody notices when the invitations stop. Right. So you have a weekly check of pre-qualified relationships, and 6 months without an invitation sets a relationship dormant and tasks the owner of that relationship with a reason to call and see what they can do to get another bid. Then you have a pre-construction process where basically an invitation becomes a decision, right? You've got a bid and you've got a discipline that creates a bid, assigns it to a reviewer, and forces a recorded go or no-go within 3 days. And declined invitations are kept and not deleted. Okay, so the important piece here is that estimating capacity is the scarcest resource a contractor has, and it gets spent on whatever arrived most recently rather than what anyone chose, and this helps you select the highest value bids. Second, the number gets built against the deadline. So coverage is checked against 10 days and reviewed, and that is a reviewed number required at 3. And then there's an escalation to the chief estimator at 1. And then finally, the bid is submitted and the hours are recorded. Then we move to the award and delivery phase where a loss produces a record for once. Okay. So this basically construction is the only industry that loses millions of dollars a year and records nothing about why. Okay. But if you don't lose, if you win, a win becomes a project automatically. This is where we're talking about this construction project piece here. Okay. A win becomes a construction project. So automatically, when a bid gets accepted, okay, so we've got a bid, and automatically when one of these bids that we have here in HubSpot moves to an expected, or rather to a one stage, when it gets moved there, it automatically creates a construction project. That's what we're saying. Because once a job is won, it disappears into project management without HubSpot. And the relationship that produced it stops being visible to the people who built it. But in HubSpot, all of that is brought to the surface and automated. And then finally, change orders get watched while the job is running. That's what we're talking about with tickets. Okay. So when we're talking about a construction project and we're looking at tickets, none of that stuff gets lost. It all gets tracked. And again, you can use the power of HubSpot's workflow automation tool to automatically ensure that nothing gets lost and nothing gets left behind. And then finally, we got reporting. All right. Reporting is really great because it helps us quantify the hit rate. So by the relationship that decides it. So contractors quote one firm-wide hit rate that averages a 60% relationship with a 9% one, and then doesn't describe either one of those. So in HubSpot, it lets you say, what's our hit rate with this specific firm or with this specific county? And then we say, for example, what's the gap to the winner by estimator? So for example, if we have estimators working on projects that are consistently losing them, are they underestimating them? Are they overestimating them? Like, what's going on? And then finally, we have one screen for the president of your company. That's this reporting dashboard. That's what I want to walk you through now. So what we've just done is shown you the whole story of how HubSpot manages your company with these records and with its features. So here's a few business intelligence features that you get from HubSpot built in with these objects. First, you get your hit rate by associated company, right? This is going to be, for example, here we have an 11% hit rate, right? Or rather, we've got a hit rate of 11. Rather, we've got 11 bids with them. Here, we've got 1. Here, we've got 3. So this helps us to see, of all of these companies that we are pitching, how many of these bids are actually going through and how many of them are getting accepted. Then we've got the gap to winner by estimator. Okay. So we're missing a 2.8% gap here. Sand Baker is giving a 12.17% overestimation. Okay. So that means that they're increasing your margin. And of all the bids that they win, they are giving you 12.17% average additional margin on top of what the winner would have gotten. Next, we have why we lost. So the incumbent relationship, we withdrew capacity, the project was canceled or unknown. Finally, what we declined and why. We declined 6 wrong size deals. 1, the margin was too thin. 1 was no capacity, and 1 was the wrong geography. Next, we have estimating hours by outcome. So here's all the outcomes: estimating, lost, shortlisted, submitted, and won, right? So of these, we've got estimating hours. So here are our hours in the estimating status, our hours in the lost status, our hours. So we're shortlisted for 1,400 hours. We've submitted 1,700 hours, and we've won 1,782 hours. Okay. And here's our average estimating hours in this project. But you see here in our lost, we've got a much higher average estimating hours number. So we're losing out on some of these higher estimate deals, and we're winning on some of these lower estimate deals, and wonder why. We've also got hit rate by delivery method. So what's our conversion rate depending on what our delivery method is? Is it a design assist, a design build, a hard bid? Is it negotiated, right? We're losing all our design assist builds. We're winning most of our design builds, losing a third of our hard bid bills. So we need to focus on that. Finally, we have subcontractor coverage versus outcome. We also have who beats us. These are all our competitors that are beating us on all of our deals. So then this is our bid value pursued versus awarded, right? Where we're actually seeing, here's what was actually awarded to us, broken down by all of these firms. And then finally, we have our completion schedule. So this is our broken down by month and year, the bids that are due and the bids that have been submitted. Okay. and it kind of breaks it down by the bid due on. And once again, we can have all of our contacts and all of our deals or all of our jobs synced to HubSpot as deals from Buildertrend, right? So very naturally, all of these deals are being synced from Buildertrend automatically. And all of our contacts in HubSpot are also being updated from Buildertrend. Now, Buildertrend doesn't have a two-way sync. So that's like a future state thing that Buildertrend wants to build. Currently in HubSpot, we have a way of building a two-way sync to Buildertrend with our tool called RevOps Connect. We can build, this is our agency's tool, not trying to upsell it to you. You can hire your own developer and do it yourself. It's really not a big deal, but this is our really cost expensive. We do this with hundreds of companies all the time, and we do it in a really cost-effective way, and we're used to maintaining those connections with Buildertrend and with many other platforms. So Buildertrend automatically syncs all of their jobs to HubSpot as deals, and they also automatically sync all of the contacts to HubSpot. So if you have contacts in HubSpot and they have information in HubSpot and you update it in Buildertrend, it updates it in HubSpot. Okay. So that's an overview of the basic core install base that we do for a construction company that wants to use HubSpot, wants to integrate with Buildertrend. Again, we have contacts, companies, deals, tickets, and then we have bids and construction projects that we all manage from inside HubSpot, that we automate from inside HubSpot, and that we report on from inside HubSpot. And there's a lot more business intelligence we can generate here. But what we do is we install this in one click in your HubSpot portal, configure it to exactly how your company works, and then train your team on it in a way that doesn't cost you tens of thousands of dollars to build all this from scratch over and over and over again in a really inefficient way. We're extremely efficient. And again, can just install this and customize it for you. Our agency is a HubSpot solutions partner called RevOps HQ. Reach out to us at revopshq.com. If you're a construction company looking into HubSpot, happy to touch base with you. Another additional feature we do have that's not shown here is a multi-site. So if you're a multi-location construction company and you need to manage not only your multi-office locations, but also multiple property sites, we have an entire home builder portal that we can also integrate with this that adds a couple additional objects here that include sites or projects or properties. And just to show you one more thing here, we actually have our own map tool that we built that only we have. That's called Minimap. It's a HubSpot app. And what it does is it shows you a couple things. Number one, it shows you the address location of this specific contact or this specific project or this specific build in Google Maps. Number two, you can validate the address to say, I want to validate this. Is this a valid address or not? And it validates it with USPS address validation. And number three, we have our custom pins where we say, this is where this is. And I want to add a pin and I want to say, this is where our office, this is where our truck lot is. Great. I want to put that there. This address B, this represents the location of the contact or the location of the job. And I want to see what's the driving locations and drive time between this address location and our truck lot. Boom, automatically. And if I go to a different contact, it'll show me different directions to that specific contact or that specific job. So thanks so much for watching this. Reach out to me via my meeting link in the show notes and schedule a consultation with me. And if you're a construction company owner or a construction company person who is looking to install HubSpot as their CRM, reach out to me and we'll take care of this for you. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.